Entrepreneurship can be really hard, and when you're doing it by yourself, trying to navigate the terrain, it can almost be impossible. That's why we created the Entrepreneur Circle. Every episode, you're going to hear from incredible entrepreneurs who are in the same trenches that you are in. And we're going to talk through what's working, what's not working, whether it be in marketing, finance, or anything in between. We're here to talk business and figure out how each of us can rise together. So welcome to the circle. Let's dig in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Entrepreneur Circle. I'm your host, Paresa Noble, and today we have an incredible guest that you guys are going to get a lot from, just based on what I've learned about her philosophies on building a business, growing a business. You guys are in for a treat. So thank you so much, Anat Peri, for joining us. She is the founder of Training Camp for the Soul. If that gives you a glimpse into the soul food that you're about to get in this conversation. Thank you for joining, Anat.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I always love to start at the very beginning because I feel like it gives us a basis of who you are, what you've done, and it's a good launching point for our conversation. So take me back, to when you started Training Camp. And I would love to hear what got you started on this path.
Taking you back would be about 11 years ago that I started, that I fully felt ready and healed enough and embodied enough to be like, okay, I want others to experience what I've just spent 11 years trying to get to, which is that inner peace and freedom to enjoy my own company, fully feel like myself, and step more into courage. So that's where I was 11 years ago. But 10 years prior to that is when I started my self-development journey. So it's about 21 years now. I was always someone that enjoyed psychology and enjoyed understanding how people work and all that. But I didn't want to go the route of traditional schooling because I didn't want the lecture style learning. I'm very much more experiential. And so instead, I went the route of business and finance, but the world of self-development found me anyways in my mid-20s. It was instant that I realized, I'm home, this is me. But there was so much for me to heal and move through. And what I struggled with for those first 8 years is that a lot of what was around back then, as far as self-development work, was mindset work, was NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, which is great. Not knocking it. It's part of the equation, but it's not the full process. It didn't get me lasting transformation. I felt like I was trimming weeds and then they would grow again. So I had 8 years into it. I'm like, oh, I have so much awareness of my stuff and I could talk about it and all that. But my life didn't look any different. Then I hit my rock bottom, left a 5-year relationship with $2,000 to my name, moved to California with no job, no car, one friend that said I could stay with her, and no plan and no self-love, and really started going deeper into my own journey and discovering other modalities, discovering the body and the somatics and yoga and meditation and even plant medicine. And that helped as well, and still wasn't the full picture. And it wasn't until I worked with my mentor, who was a body-mind psychologist, that I learned inner child work, that I understood that it's not just about the awareness or even experiencing things, expressing things and shifting energy and moving emotions and all that, which is part of it too, but it's also important to get to the root of where it is on a subconscious level and to know how to reparent yourself, to know how to give yourself what you always wanted and needed, to become your own inner best friend, inner cheerleader, inner nurturer, and be able to feel whatever comes up and step into the world with an open heart, with courage, with vulnerability. So that's really what set me free, where I went from experiencing transformation early on as a walk in a park on a beautiful sunny day, meaning thinking that all those popcorn aha moments of awareness was transformation, when really it was just a moment of relief for my brain saying, why am I like this? To real transformation, which is a walk through a burning forest, and there's dragons to slay, and I had to feel things that I never wanted to feel, never even knew that there were to feel, and meet parts of myself that weren't really me, and learn to move through that I experienced lasting transformation. That I understood that after that experience, going from someone who was scared to be by myself, like I did not enjoy my own company. I felt a lot of anxiety when I was by myself. I felt this hollowness in my chest. I was very codependent on my friendships and my romantic relationships, to then for the first time wanting to go travel by myself and get away from people and just tap more into myself and my intuition and my gifts. That was the experience 11 years ago. That after 6 months of adventuring and doing all that, I was like, I want others to experience this. If it's possible for me, it's possible for others.
Amen. Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack there. And as we zoom into today, this has turned into a program that not only you're teaching, but other coaches are teaching, right?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. I mean, it sounds like you have built an amazing hub for this type of transformational work.
Yeah. So, what started to happen a year into working with clients is that they'd say to me, "This is incredible. I've done a lot of other things. I've never experienced this. I want to learn to do what you do." And for 3 years, I heard that. Part of it was learned from my past experiences and mentors, and a lot of it was just channeled through me as I opened more up to myself. And so hearing that for 3 years, I was like, I don't know if how, like, you want me to teach this to you? Like, I don't know if I can teach this. But you kept hearing it and hearing it, when something keeps knocking at your door, you're like, okay, I guess I'll answer the calling. And so about 7 years ago, I was like, okay, this is the year I pay attention and start to really map out the process and the method and all that. And yeah, 6 years ago during COVID, I was like, well, the world needs this now more than ever, is when I launched my beta version. And now I'm going into my 11th cohort. And it's incredible. It's incredible to have the opportunity to guide and teach other practitioners that are heart-centered, that are passionate about helping people, but maybe are burnt out or lack the confidence in themselves. And to give them this so that they could really flourish in their business is even more satisfying than just helping people heal, is what I've realized. And the ripple effect of it is very rewarding. And
Yeah. I can tell you're very impact driven because it's not just you, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio where you're helping one person. You are teaching others to then exponentially teach the same thing. And I think the most impressive piece of this story is that you discovered it by going through it yourself. Like you've been through it yourself, and that's where it was born. I think a lot of times we see coaches come in and teach just on business principles or teach you very methodical things. And of course, there's different types of coaches. Everything has its place. But it sounds like, for me, I look at where I was 7 years ago when I started my business, where I am now, and where I still need to go. I have so much growth that I still need to do. But I've grown so much through this last 7 years in my business. And a lot of that comes with experience, but there's also a beauty to having a mentor or a coach take you through the like intangible side of growing your business.
yeah, I mean, there's so much that you can't see on your own, so many patterns, so many ways that we don't realize something else takes over and our higher self is no longer in the driver's seat. We're operating from survival. And so it is very advantageous to have that, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, yes, I did a lot of growth and healing leading up to starting my business, but oh my God. Like, I know I'm speaking to you and all the other entrepreneurs right now, business owners here in the past 11 years, the amount of like death and rebirth cycles and having moments of really just wanting to like throw in the towel, because it's one thing to coach, it's another thing to run a business where you have to wear so many other hats and there's such a level of surrender. I think I always tell people, I mean, you want to grow, go become an entrepreneur. It's like the biggest like growth because you can only make it from that. There's so many moments and challenges that come up. I remember 6 years ago when my business took off, when COVID happened, my business exploded. I was ready for it, probably in more ways than other businesses were, and it grew exponentially, like 100%. And I went from like being this like healer, this coach, to like, oh my God, I have a sales team of like 5 people and I have this and I have that. And again, so like at every level, there's a devil. And what came up for me at that point was it was like, but I don't know anything about like building up business. Like I just know how to be a solopreneur. Like what do I know about having a team and all this? And I just doubted myself in that and thought, well, I need someone else to play that role. And so I hired someone else to be my CEO, to be the start, to take that on because I didn't believe in myself in that way. Turns out I was stepping on his toes all the time. I actually did know. I just wasn't owning that. But it cost me a lot. And he never took care of it and loved it the way, the way I did. And it ended up not being a good exit a couple of years later. And that was hard. That was really hard as a business owner. It was like, we don't learn things in business school. We
Yeah,
learn
you
it
learn
in the
it by
school hard
doing.
knocks. Yeah, if you're going through it. There's no regrets of that experience that I had because, again, it showed me another part of where I collapsed and don't believe in myself. And I got to really develop and move through that and step into a great leader and business owner. And then honestly, I'm in another death and rebirth cycle right now. And maybe you could have me on another couple of months and we could talk about that. But all I know is there's a level of resiliency that I have today that I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, damn, girl, I'm impressed how you keep going with everything the way that it is. And I think that's what I want listeners to take away here is what are we doing to support our nervous system and becoming resilient that no matter what life hands you, that you can stay the course.
What are some tactics there? Because that's so on par. I feel like you mentioned oftentimes we don't even recognize when we're falling into that survival state and making business decisions based on those negative emotions. Maybe we could start with what are some signs that we as entrepreneurs can be on the lookout for when we are in that state of survival?
I think we fall into overworking, overgiving, overdoing, pushing, exhaustion, burnout, satisfaction. Like you find yourself doing the thing every day, and then you're like, I'm not even happy. That was me. The last time I went, I've gone through a few death and rebirth cycles, but the one like 2.5 years ago was realizing like I'm not enjoying the day to day. And I'm like, if I'm not enjoying the day to day, what the hell am I doing this for? And how much we go into thinking we need to do more and do all the things but when I actually took a pause and told myself, I'm done. I don't want to do these things. I'm not happy. I had to face what that was masking for me. And what it was masking for me was the fear of things never growing back to where they were when I let go of my CEO, right? It plummeted a bit. I had to face the fear of this business not making it and the attachment that was there to that. And not only face it, but actually feel it in my body because our body is holding that energy. And so learning what it is to actually tap into where our body is holding it, what sensations are there, what's the emotion that's there. There was this tightness that when I really tuned in, my whole body was just bracing. It's like being on a boat and this big wave is coming that could literally like tip your boat over and you just brace and cling and tighten every part of your body. That's what I felt when I slowed down and got present. And then feeling that underneath that was the fear of the boat's about to tip over. And if the boat was about to tip over, wouldn't you have some kind of reaction and express something like scream and yell and cry and and so that's what it is to actually feel that fear. I expressed that. I had this internal like scream and cry and just imagining that it's flipping over. The ship is sinking. I kid you not. Within 90 seconds of expressing that, and you can move through an emotion in 90 seconds if you're not resisting it and you're actually expressing it with your body, with your voice, with emoting sound, with facial expression, with all of yourself. I kid you not, within 90 seconds, I felt all that tight energy go right to my solar plex and something unlocked and I lost my breath for 10 seconds. So if you ever get punched in the solar plex, you will literally and you won't have breath. Different than holding your breath. It'll feel like you don't have it anymore, like you're drowning. Then it released and my whole body relaxed. It was like ushy gushy, like a warm blanket, and it never came back. It was like my system learned that you can move through this type of fear. Within 4 months, my business really started to make financial shifts, but my mind and my body made the shift. My body made the shift right away, and I noticed myself acting in a relaxed way as I approached everything in my business. And I'd witness myself and I'd be like, how am I so relaxed with no result yet? No result yet. It's because the mind is catching up to what the body has already integrated, but it's looking for like evidence of it. But I could tell you, as I'm in another like death and rebirth cycle right now, that fear doesn't come up for me. Like it comes up in my system. It doesn't take over in the form of how I act out. So there's a physiological reason for that I could get into.
Get into it, girl. I am
Okay.
so here for this.
A lot of times, we want to control things with our minds. We want to mindset our way into things and tell ourselves like just think positive, just do this, just do that. But in the heat of the moment, we still find that we collapse into a pattern. That's because your nervous system responds 10 times faster than your mind does. In zero point 0.2 seconds, just get how slow, like how quick that is. In zero point 0.2 of a second, your nervous system is responding. In 2 seconds, 10 times later, in 2 seconds, it reaches your conscious mind, your thoughts, oh, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I need to do. It wins every time because your nervous system is designed to protect you and to put you not into what is your best intention or what's right, but what's familiar. What's familiar and programmed in your nervous system. So if it's not familiar, it's a threat. And if it's a threat, it's going to protect you from it. And if it's going to protect you from it, it's going to put you in fight, flight, freeze, or please. And that's not you. You don't want to act out of those. But as you actually sit with the thing that you fear the most and feel it all the way through, what you're doing is you're retraining your nervous system that this is actually safe and familiar and that I can be and survive this. I don't need protection from it. So the next time it arises in a situation that brings up that fear in your system, the nervous system discharges it in zero point 0.2 seconds and you're able to stay present where you'll literally say, I don't experience that fear anymore. You do experience it, but it doesn't reach your conscious awareness. It gets metabolized so quickly. And that is what builds resiliency because you're able to stay present in situations that are challenging in the past. You're no longer reacting to it. It just moves through you.
Okay, this is so fascinating because when you talk about this, I just think it's easy to go back to my story. I keep using my story as an example, but I look back at who I was and how big of an up and down ebb and flow my almost emotional state was at the beginning of my business. Oh, I closed a sale. Oh, I didn't close that sale. Oh, and then it would be reflective of who I was and my value and how good I could be at it. And then it's like you do it for long enough and you become tolerant to that and the ups and downs are not as big. And I'm understanding this as okay, I could take 5 years to get through that because I'm actually going through it and dealing with the emotion. And you're saying we could cut that time by a lot if we take the time to just process it and face the fear of the obstacle right here, right now. And then you aren't like extending the time period.
Exactly. Because when you don't do that, you're constantly getting hijacked. I want you to think of it like you're in the driver's seat, right? When you're fully like in your power, you're in the driver's seat of your life. But if your system senses something that is not familiar and overwhelms it, the bodyguards hop into the car and say, "Get in the back seat, we're taking over." And these bodyguards are running the show in a way of, fight, flight, freeze, like force, push, overdo this, that, everything that's not really you. And that just sets you into a longer trajectory, like you said, of having to come back into driver's seat. So this is about being able to stay and not fall into those patterns.
That is amazing. I am taking notes on this because I think this is something that every entrepreneur needs to address, whether you are in tune with how big your limiting beliefs are or you're kind of out of touch with it. Or I feel like I've met some people who don't take the time to pour into these softer sides of entrepreneurship because they're like, oh, we're just after a plan, we're just doing all of you know the tactical elements.
Which is probably not their authentic self either. It just,
Mm.
again, people could live in their pattern, their bodyguards driving the show, their whole career, their whole life, and think it's them. And then have some kind of existential crisis that they realize, I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. This is not me. I don't want to hold all this. I don't want to do all this anymore. Why am I doing this? Because I'm afraid, dot, dot, dot. Oh, gosh. And then they deal with that fear and they're just like, well, there I am. Oh, this is more me. This is alignment. This is happiness. This is joy. This is peace. This is me actually loving my life and my business. Entrepreneurs, it's a journey. There's no destination. It's a constant of building and growing and giving. So you have to enjoy it on a day to day, and you can't if you're not in the driver's seat.
And isn't that why we all got into this in the first place? Why we all started our business in the first place, to enjoy it and build a life that we dream of and want, not to be burnt out or feel stress on this level.
So
Interesting.
they need to see it as like an indication that if you're dissatisfied in some way, overwhelmed, burnt out, go take a day in nature. Just pause, grab a journal with you. Just be like, what if? What if I stop doing all this stuff? What am I running from here? What am I hiding? What am I protecting myself from? And face it, because it'll get you back on track much longer than the pushing and the forcing and the exhausting that sometimes leads to burnout and sometimes leads to sabotage and like closing shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, saying, well, I guess I'm not meant for that when you
Hmm.
really are. When you really are. So you got to know yourself and be willing to connect with yourself in that level. And I get it's not easy. Like I said, I'm like, okay, another layer for me now here, completely different than the one from 2 years ago, and the one from 5 years ago, and the one from 7 years ago. Seems to be about every other year, every 3 years. But it's like I talk about it like a video game that like at every level there's some villain, there's some devil that you have to fight off. But you're at a new level. You have new tools. You have new, what do you call it, armor and ways to slay that. And so to not think that, oh my God, here I am again, but to recognize that it usually happens right before a major expansion. I look back and I see that expansion or some course correction. Like share a little bit more about me. When it happened 7 years ago was the first time that I partnered with someone, and I thought that his influence, he was a big influencer, would just, his audience, it would just click right away and things would take off, and they didn't. And I had to face the fact that for the first time I wanted to grow a bit, but I didn't want to do all the things that entrepreneurs have to do. I just wanted to coach. And I was like, I don't want to do all these things. And then I said to myself, well, I'm not going to do any of them. I'm just not. I just want to coach. And I let go of my attachment, my fear to it. And 2 months later, it took off. And it was
Wow.
like that for 4 years. When I fired my CEO, that to me helped me change trajectory of where I was focusing my business. And then 2 years ago, it helped me expand into working with high-end clientele, like one-on-one, which I would have never been open to if that didn't happen. And now I feel my expansion is around more visibility. And a part of me is like, but I don't want to. I just want to keep playing small. No, you're here for this. And so I'm like in the contraction before the expansion. So, how much can we meet the contraction and trust that when we're really honest with ourselves and really meet what's there, that expansion is on the other side. But it's not a given, it's not a guarantee. It's like that level on the video game. Yeah, past this level, next level is expansion.
I would love to get into this details of what you just shared. You shared your story of how you faced that fear of the boat tipping over, everything just falling down. I feel like that is a very common fear amongst entrepreneurs, is that fear of failure, right? How did you get yourself into that state to get so connected to that feeling, to be able to process it in that way?
I did this practice of cultivating safety in my system, and I have a free audio we can give your audience on that practice of actually slowing down enough through breath and through learning to get in the body and track sensations that had me get present to that. At the same time, I intentionally brought up the visual of the worst case scenario. We're thinking about it all the time anyway, so why not intentionally bring it? And, the body doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It's going to think it's real, just like we watch a movie and we cry or we get scared and it's like, it's a movie, but your system doesn't know the difference. So I intentionally brought it up. I intentionally told myself, yep, you're going to fail. It's going to be done. You're going to lose this. You're going to have to let go of these people, blah, blah, blah. I stirred it up in my system at the same time while I was doing the breath work and regulating myself to think about it like there's an ocean of your emotions, right? That's like where the boat is. But to feel safe to even go into the water, you have to stretch. You have to put on a wetsuit. Definitely on the Pacific coast, you need a wetsuit. And until you do that, until you learn how to cultivate safety within yourself, you won't get into the water. You won't want to face it. So that's an important practice of slowing things down and sitting and regulating the system and learning how what it is to find the safe places in your body, like kind of like, okay, let's dip our toe in the water. We're not going deep into the deep end yet. Build that capacity. And you're cultivating the safety to even go there.
This is fascinating because I have spoken to so many people, and a lot of the personal development that I've done is around imagining yourself as a success, that you made it, the law of
Hmm.
attraction,
Hmm.
manifestation. Don't think about the negative stuff. Otherwise, you'll attract the negative stuff. What do you have to say to that theory?
Yeah, I love that. So there's a difference between thinking and feeling. So yes, we want to do the visual of our greatest desire and manifest it. But you want to think of yourself as a garden. And right now you look at the garden and there are these weeds. And we could go to the store right now. We could go to Home Depot Gardens and pick out exactly what you want to plant in there and get so excited about it. But when you come home and you look at your garden, if you don't make room, if you don't pull those weeds out, like there's no room for it. And I think this is what's missing in the world of like positive psychology or just think positive or manifestation is that we're not working with the nervous system. We think our mind and our visualizations and affirmations, which are great, can overpower that. But again, the nervous system, 10 times faster, it's going to win every time. So you have to deal with what's there first. And if what's there right now is a threat, there's no room for that new possibility. So you have to feel the threat first. Because when you feel it without running from it, you're learning it, your system's learning it, like learning to ride a wave. Everyone out at sea wants to come to shore, but if you stare at a wave and say, well, I didn't want this, I wanted the beach, I wanted the warm sand, you're going to get smacked down with that wave. So you got to meet your system where it's at. And if it's at fear, stop gaslighting yourself and telling yourself all the positive things. Start with the truth. Like, this is where I'm at. And if I could learn to be with this, then it's no longer something that's a threat. It's no longer a roadblock. Then And I do this with clients in session. I'm like, let's sit with the thing that feels uncomfortable. They sit with it, they express it, they watch it get smaller and dissipate. Then we bring it back again. I'm like, yep, you're going to lose, you're going to fail, this is going to happen. And they see it activates again, they sit with it again. And within 3 to 4 times of doing that, they're like, doesn't trigger me anymore. I'm good. I'm like, cool, great. Now let's bring in that vision. Now let's create that big vision. Yeah, you did it. You had that killer, 50K month. You're rocking. You're amazing. Your family's so happy. You're able to book that vacation. Now let's plant that vision that you want and now feel that in your system. Let's imprint that. And now your job is, can you hold that? Like what I didn't share that part of after I had that release and move that out of my system, I did step into, well, I feel so much peace and joy right now. And how much peace and joy can I hold every day in my system so that everything could catch up to that, so that my external world could catch up to the peace and joy that I'm holding right now. But I couldn't hold that when the fear was taking up that space.
That just resonated so deeply for me, and I hope for everyone that's listening. I have goosebumps. Anat, how can people connect with you and your team?
Yeah, so I hang out on Instagram. That's one place for sure. I message every new follower. I love to get to know the human behind the follower. And also, if you go to my website, trainingcampforthesoul.com, we're going to give that, I really want to give you guys that cultivating safety audio because it's going to get you warmed up into it. It's going to support you in that way. Connect, message me.
I cannot wait to listen to it. And I am so intrigued with how you operate and approach this because everything you just said completely blew me away. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. You're amazing. I appreciate you coming on this show. Thank you for sharing this gold with this audience. And you guys go connect with Anat. I think, I don't have to persuade you. I think everything that she just shared landed beautifully with you all because I know it did for me. I'm sitting here with a big smile on my face and goosebumps. So thank you, Anat, for joining. Everyone, thank you for tuning in today, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Remember this as you go about your day today. The ideas that are on your heart for a reason. Do not ignore them. Tune into them. Tap in, lean in, understand them, and pursue them. If not you, then who? If this episode was helpful to you in any way, please like, share, comment, subscribe. It does wonders for our efforts and it helps us to continue our mission of inspiring entrepreneurs and giving them the resources and the perspective we all need to take it to the next level. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paresa Noble, and we'll catch you next time.